Hello everyone. So I will be doing my October TBR. This is a very ambitious TBR, not only because there's a lot of books, but some are a bit long, but I love this time of year. I love Halloween, I love everything about it, so I want to read some horror books. I'm hoping to get through all of them. I doubt I will, but I've been pretty good at reading lately, so I hope I can keep it up. So let's get started. The first book I want to read in October is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I've mentioned this a lot on my channel, so I won't exactly tell you what it's about because I've told you about it before. This is the sequel to Vicious, and I love Vicious. I recently reread it just so I can read this book, so I just want to quickly read this book. And it has to do with like the supernatural, so it fits. The second book I want to read is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is a horror book, and it's about like 400 pages long, and it is about Dr. Lewis Creed, who moves his family from Chicago to rural Maine with his wife, 2 kids, and their cat. And when they do, their cat gets killed, and so Dr. Lewis Creed buries it deep in the woods in a graveyard that has sinister properties. I've heard amazing things about this book. I've watched both the original and the remake of the movie, but I've never read this book, and I've heard the book is way better. The next book is The Shining by Stephen King, which is another horror book. I think this is the longest book on my TBR for this month. It is about 650 pages long, which is quite scary, especially when I have quite a few books I want to read. This is about Jack Torrance, who gets a new job as the off-season caretaker at the Overlook Hotel. So he moves him, his wife, and kid to this hotel. And he thinks this is a perfect job for him because it'll give him plenty of time to reconnect with his family and also give him time to write. But it isn't as perfect as he thinks it is. Soon the harsh winter rolls in, and something seems to be evil within the hotel. This is one of Stephen King's most popular books. It's also a very classic movie. I haven't read this book, I've only seen the movie, which I love, but I heard the book is a lot better because it goes into a lot more detail. In the movie, they miss a lot of important plot points. So I heard that the movie does not do this book justice, which I love the movie, so I'm excited to read this. The next book is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This is a mystery thriller novel about Emma Davis, who when she was young, she went to camp and there all her cabin mates disappeared. And now it's years later and she is this up-and-coming famous New York City artist. There she meets Francesca, who is the wealthy new owner of the camp she attended when she was younger. And she offers Emma a job. And Emma thinks it's a perfect opportunity to find out what really happened to her missing friends. I've read Final Girls by this author and I really enjoyed it, so I'm interested to see if this book is just as good. The next one is The Exorcist by William Peter Batley. This is a horror movie about Reagan, who is an 11-year-old girl who gets possessed, and 2 priests try to exorcise the demon out. So this book was inspired by a real event in the 1940s when a 14-year-old boy was possessed and they tried to exorcise him. And of course I've seen this movie, it's a classic, and I've never even read the book. Never even attempted to it, so I'm excited to see how the book is compared to the movie, since the movie is a classic. The next one is The Girls by Emma Cline. This is like a historical fiction novel. It isn't exactly a horror novel, but it has to do with the Manson family, and so I think that's creepy enough. So this is about Evie Boyd, who meets a bunch of girls in the park, and she gets involved with them and the soon-to-be cult. And I think this just sounds so interesting, because I'm very fascinated about the Manson family. This is a made-up story revolving about it, but it sounds very cool. And the final book I want to read in October is The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. This is a horror book about the Lutz family who moves into their dream house. However, this house has a history. It was once owned by the DeFeos, who their son murdered them, his brothers and sisters. And soon after the Lutz family moves in, terrifying things start to happen, and they flee the house after 28 days. Even though I've never read this book, I've seen the movies, but this story has always fascinated me because it is a true story. It's Ronnie DeFeo did kill his parents, his 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and the Lutz moved into the same house, and they did report some terrifying things and left after 28 days. But many believe that the Lutz family was involved in a big scam. And I think that's just so fascinating to learn about, like, because Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in this. And I think I might actually do a whole video about this story after I read this book and compare it to the true events, just to see the true story about everything that was reported and happened. Because this story just is so creepy and so fascinating since it involves a real life murder. So those are all the books I want to read in October. So like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!